My name is Jessica Dawson. I was very stubborn and liked going after men when I was growing up. I used to do this with a bosom friend of mine. The reasons why I go after men was because my parents were not able to meet all my needs as a young lady, therefore the men I meet do give me money to sort myself whenever I needed to. This had been the life I lead until one day I met a man who proposed marriage to me. Initially, I thought he was joking because many men would tell me that but wouldn't do anything to prove that, so I didn't believe him. But true to his word, this man went and saw my parents and did everything he was supposed to do, and we happily got married. Everything was going on well, and by God's grace, I got pregnant and had our first child. But a couple of years later, everything changed financially. My husband's work started going down, and so we started facing financial difficulties. The situation was so difficult that sometimes we don't have any money to buy food or do anything. It was this bosom friend of mine who started helping us with money and foodstuffs. Sometimes, my friend would come, and we shall cook together and eat. In fact, my friend was a great help to us during our difficult moments. One day, my friend told me that a man I used to date has returned to Ghana from abroad and he wanted to talk to me, so she needed my permission before giving my number to him. I then told my friend that there is no problem with that because I'm now married with a child, and I don't think anything could occur between us. My friend then gave my number to this man, who started chatting and calling me as well. Some few days later, this man asked me out, and when we met, he expressed interest in me, but I told him that I was married now with a child and so I can't have an affair with him. This man said he liked me that way and then promised to take good care of me and help me out of the financial hardship that we were facing. I then accepted to be having an affair with him so that I could get some money to help at home. True to his word, he started sending me money to buy food and do whatever I needed to do. One day, this man asked me out on a date. I went, and before I returned home, the man slept with me. So, I decided that, due to the money I'm getting from the man, I would secretly have an affair with him while I stay married to my husband. This became a norm for me. I would sneak out and go and meet this man whenever he called me without my husband knowing. It continued like this until the man went back to abroad for about 3 months. When he returned to Ghana, I was pregnant for my husband with our second child. I then told my friend to tell the man that I was pregnant and would like us to hold on with the affair until I deliver and then can continue, but my friend encouraged me to continue seeing the man with the pregnancy because he could take care of all of us. She then added that this was a good opportunity one shouldn't miss, and due to the financial hardship we were facing, I decided to heed my friend's advice, and so I continued having an affair with this man with the pregnancy. This man was aware that I was pregnant for my husband, and yet I would go to him, and he would sleep with me and then give me money to take care of the house. One day, this man took me to a hotel. When we were done and were coming out, I saw my husband standing at the reception waiting for me. The moment he saw me, his pregnant wife coming out of a hotel room with another man, he shouted, "Well done." In fact, I got scared, frightened, and started shaking because I'm caught red-handed with another man. I didn't have the slightest clue who told my husband where I was and what I was doing. It was a big disgrace for me. Suddenly, my husband fainted, but my boyfriend asked me to leave him, and he took me to his car while the people around were taking care of my husband. It was when my boyfriend was taking me to his car that I noticed my bosom friend sitting in my husband's car. My boyfriend then told me not to go to my husband again and that he would buy a house and a car and open a shop for me as well. So, I left my fainted husband and left with this man. He later rented a house for me and got me a car as well, and so for the next 9 months, I never saw my first child and my husband and never cared what happened to my husband when he fainted. I stayed with my boyfriend until I was due to deliver. He then took me to the hospital and successfully I delivered my second child. My boyfriend then told me that he wanted to buy a few things, so I should wait for him at the hospital. I waited and waited, but this man didn't show up. I then tried calling his phone, but it wasn't going through. Apparently, he had blocked my number, and even when I used a different number, he would hang up the moment he heard my name. This man left me stranded, and so I had to use my own money to pay my bills to be discharged. When I got to the house he had rented for me, the house was locked, and the security man there never allowed me to go in. Realizing that the man had made a fool out of me, I decided to go back to my husband and beg him to take me back, but to my shock and surprise, when I got to my husband's house, I met my bosom friend there in the house, pregnant for my husband. My husband never listened to anything I said, and so Elle left. When I called my friend to ask her why she had taken my husband, she told me how could she leave such a good husband. In fact, I'm so miserable. I wanted my husband to take up the upkeep of the second child because it for him, but how could I make him understand? Someone should help me out, I'm in a mess. This is the story of Jessica. Do leave comment in the section below and don't forget to subscribe. On January 24, 2006, Jennifer Kess failed to report to her job in Central Florida. After further investigation, it seemed as if the 24-year-old just vanished. Kess was seen for the last time leaving work at approximately 6 p.m. on January 23, 2006. She spoke by phone with her father while driving home at around 6:15 p.m., and then with her boyfriend at around 10 p.m. When Kess failed to arrive at work the next morning, her employer contacted her parents, who set out on the 2-hour drive from their home to hers. Kess' parents noticed that her car was missing but saw nothing out of the ordinary in her home. A wet towel and clothes laid out, among other things, suggested that she had showered, dressed, and prepared for work that morning. With no sign of forced entry or a struggle, investigators theorized that on the morning of January 24, Kess left her apartment for work and locked her front door, only to be abducted at some point while walking toward or getting into her car. A few days after she vanished, her car was found parked at another apartment complex about a mile from her own. Security footage recorded a person parking Kess' car and walking away. The person could not be identified due to poor camera quality. Detectives interpreted the valuables left inside the car to imply that robbery was not a motive in the case. A search dog tracked a scent that led from her parked car back to her apartment complex, prompting detectives to believe that the suspect might have returned to her apartment's parking lot after abandoning the car. Investigators also deduced that the car had been wiped down because there was a lack of DNA. Her ex-boyfriend, who wished to get back together with her, was interrogated, but it was concluded that he had nothing to do with her abduction. Her current boyfriend was also questioned, but his alibi checked out, eliminating him as a suspect. Kess' co-workers were also questioned, as well as construction workers who catcalled her on many occasions, but nothing of substance was ever extracted from any of these individuals. Jennifer Kess' case remains unsolved to this day, and what happened to her is still a complete mystery.